Hello. Hello, hello,
Hello.
Chloe. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's Chloe's season with
Yeah,
SZN.
exactly. Get excited. So I have, like I said, a ton of music, two EPs. It's kind of strange how I'm doing it, but like I'm releasing the newest, like as in like the stuff that I wrote the like most recently first, and then releasing the second EP, which is kind of going to be more like a prequel, I guess. Usually people do the other way around, but I kind of wanted to start with where I'm at now because that's kind of the point of this EP is like kind of being okay with exactly where you are now and trusting that everything's going to work out and having faith in the unknown, following your heart, following your intuition, right now, and that you can kind of manifest anything that you want. And for me, a lot of it had to do with love. And like I had spent about a little over like a year intentionally alone. I had gotten out of like a really serious relationship, like 5-year relationship, and I needed time to heal and like find myself again. I ended up meeting the love of my life at the end, or it's not the end of that, but you know what I mean, like towards the end of that healing process. I think we're always healing, but you know what I mean. The major healing process. And I really learned so much just about like alignment and like how it all kind of comes together, and we control a lot of that just through our energy.
It sounds really cliche when people say, "Oh, everything happens for a reason," but like it really does.
Really
It
does.
really, really, really does.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that, yeah, timing is everything. And, there's, when you look back, you realize how much actually makes sense, and like how you wouldn't be, this wouldn't have happened if this hadn't have happened. And, we obviously, as like humans, we try to connect it for our sanity at the same time. But like, I've seen it happen in the craziest of ways, when we just kind of decide to, okay, I'm letting go now, because otherwise, like, I've realized that like there's so many surprises for us in life that like we just can't control. If I were to be like, you know what I mean? Like if I were to be like, oh, this is what I want it to look like this. Well, like what if it could look better without me trying to control it? Like what if it's even better than I could make up in my mind? So you just have to set the intention and let it go.
Exactly. I mean, me personally, I would say that I'm a control freak because I always try to come up with those scenarios in
Mhm.
my head. Oh, okay, this is how it's going to be, or this is how it has to be. But I
Yeah,
think part of that's because I'm nervous of something going wrong.
sure.
I'm nervous about something going wrong. I think that's really natural.
And at some point, it's like, okay, yeah, of course. Like, what if it goes wrong? But also, like, what if it doesn't? Or what if it goes wrong in order to go right? You know what I mean? To lead you to something else. And it takes, again, yeah, a lot of like confidence and faith, and it's terrifying. I mean, it's not a fun process. Like when I've been through a lot of like pain in the process of that, but also like I think that I learned how to trust a little bit more through trusting myself more, which kind of started with me like figuring out like what do I want? What makes me feel good, and focusing on that every day. Like even in the simplest of ways, whether it was like taking a walk and I know that this makes me feel happy for 30 minutes or whatever, and noticing that. And then the more you recognize like those good feelings, like you realize what's for you because they also give you those good feelings. You know what I mean? Like whether it's people or your job or whatever, you know what I mean?
I would love to hear some of your favorite stories behind how this EP came together.
So I recorded most of this EP, the newest stuff. There's two songs that I had written, like about a year or so back. Well, now like 2 years back, that I took from the second EP and put on this one. And those were written in Nashville. I wrote them with my friend Emmeline White and my producer Jamie Kenny. And those were songs that I had written when I was kind of like in that surrender process that I was talking to you about, like right when I was learning how to let go. I wasn't quite there yet, but I knew that I was like, okay, I can either wait and continue to like close myself off, which on one hand, I needed to be alone. Like I needed time to just kind of figure out again like what I wanted, and I really just didn't want to settle for anything in my life. But at the same time, I was like focusing on such specifics. I think, you know, I realized it was not doing me any favors because it was a form of control too, rather than trusting, like, you know, I'm going to know if this feels right, even like in letting myself like open up again and meet new people. And whatnot. But I really wanted it to happen naturally too. I didn't want to like go on any dating apps or anything like that. I just wanted to focus on loving me, and if it was meant to be, it would show up, right? And I kind of was telling myself, okay, well, there's a difference between waiting and saving space. Like saving space, you can continue to move forward and let go while still having faith that what you want is going to come in, like no matter what. And yeah, waiting is just controlling it and sitting there and not doing anything. And yeah, and not trusting
It's
it.
hard.
It's very hard. It's very hard. Yep. Yep. And so I kind of told myself, all right, well, this is the mindset that I need to start having. And, you know, flash forward like another year, and I got an opportunity to go in the studio again. And at this point, I still hadn't released that other stuff yet. It was still, you know, COVID time. We were trying to figure out what we are going to do. I was wrapping up those songs, and I got an opportunity to record with this guy, Brian West, who's a Canadian producer. He did Nelly Furtado, I'm Like a Bird, and Andy Grammer, and Sia, and some really cool artists. And we just vibed, and he came to work with me in Laurel Canyon here in LA, which was so cool because that's, you know, it's where Stevie Nicks, like my hero of all heroes, like recorded. And we just had the best time. And so we sat down, and it was a lot of pressure because I just created this project that, you know, I like bared my soul into, and I loved so much. And I was like, how am I going to beat this? You know, this isn't even out yet, and I'm going to have to like beat this. My producer was like, Chloe, you still haven't written like your best song. You have to think like that. And again, it was like kind of a trust process. Like you just have to let go and write. And at this point, like I was in a good and healthy relationship, which I definitely manifested through that song Saving Space, because the first time that I ever played that song live was my first show after COVID. And that night almost gave up on literally everything. Like what I thought was the point of my whole journey, I guess. The logical thing that I thought was like leading, you know, was leading towards like the specifics was not. I realized like that's probably not actually a thing. And I was sitting there kind of like, well, I'm going to lose my mind if this was for nothing, because it just doesn't make sense. Like I've seen crazy manifestations happen throughout this whole process. I've seen it all aligned to this very moment. How is it not leading to this? Maybe it just looks different than what I imagine it to. So I just got to trust that, like, you know, the universe is perfect timing, God is perfect timing. And I decided to go up on stage, sing those songs, and I had to leave right after. And then the next day I got a DM from a boy, and it stood out to me somehow in the like most, I mean, I have random DMs all the time, not just from guys or anything like that, but just like from fans, talking to fans, spam,
Sugar daddies.
people in India. It's like, yeah.
Hello, my dear. I hope you're having a good day. Would you be interested in a sugar daddy?
Exactly. And for some reason he like stood out, and I was like, okay, hi. And it was super like not even like flirtatious. It was just like, hey, I saw your show, you were great. And I was just like, thank you, like whatever. And we started talking, and he ended up being the first person that I went on a date with in over a year, because I got to the point where I was like, you know, what do I have to lose if it's not there? Like I'm fine. Like I'm fine alone. It finally was at this point where I was like, it's got to be a bonus for me. So if it's not it, like, okay, like whatever, like why not go and like have a conversation and meet this person? He seems dope. And we did, and here we are. So that's a crazy story, but that inspired Afraid of the Dark, which is literally about that actual night that kind of like the most unexpected blessing showed up. For anybody listening to Memories, which is on the EP, that one, actually great story behind that, if I may share. But I had basically been really sick in like 6th grade. Got pulled out of school. I shared like a little bit of this on my social media. And during that time, it was really rough. I ended up transferring to a different school in 7th grade to kind of like start over as I was like healing and recovering. And for the first time in my life, dealt with like bullies, mean girls. Never had that happen before. Just super isolating. It was like a private Catholic school. I'm not Catholic. So immediately was like outcasted there, just like literally by the school. And I had one teacher though that was like incredible. And I feel like everybody has one teacher that they can be like, okay, this person was great. I hope that everybody has at least one teacher. And this guy just had unconventional teaching methods to the point where he actually ended up being fired. But that's another point, which is ridiculous, because he was
You tell
literally
me what happened?
I don't even know like how he got fired. All I know is that like he did because it wasn't straight from the book. Like, for example, he had us come in every day and we just had to free write. He did not care if we had good spelling. He did not care if the grammar was good. It was just write whatever's on your mind. I don't care if it's like, I just ate a turkey sandwich and then I fell down the stairs. It was like, I mean, that would probably happen to me. But like literally it was just trying to get us to like not overthink and not put up like boundaries within our art, within our writing. And I used it as kind of like an excuse to journal, I guess, talk about my life, the things that I was going through. And I'd always wondered like what had happened to those papers. And I'd been wondering about them like when I was like recording this project. And so it was really weird because one day I was like kind of feeling like crap. I was exhausted. I mean, I was in the studio every single day for like at least a month straight. And that was awesome, but also it is draining. And so I was sitting there and I was just like, am I even doing everything right? Am I doing enough? Like, should I be like, farther along with like millions and millions of streams, even though that's completely out of my control? And then my mom calls me, and this is on my birthday, and she's like, Chloe, I literally just found those like papers, those like letters that you were talking about. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I like raced home and I started reading them. And it took me like a good hour to read all of them. And I was like partially cracking up and like partially crying because it was just so crazy to like, it felt like I was meeting my 12-year-old self in the most wild way, because you like see parts of who you are now and like parts where I was like, damn, like that girl was a badass. And then parts where I was like, oh my God, wow, this is what, she was scared of, like afraid to mess up and sing in front of people. And like, I don't have stage fright. Like I can boldly say I do not have stage fright. Like I love being in front of people. I love singing. And I'm not like that. And so I was just like, dang, like she would be so proud of where I'm at now. And that's kind of what inspired that song and kind of reminded me to like love me a little bit more in that moment, because there's so many of us, like we're living the dreams of like our like little girl self, like, and even in like the smallest of ways, like they'd be like, she's so cool. So yeah, that's my story.
We love healing our inner child.
Yes.
We do. We
I'm all
do.
about the inner child.
We do. Same. So, kind of wrapping things up, what is something that you are really looking forward to in 2023?
I would say, other than the fact that people finally get to have the songs that have been my babies for this long, and they get to take them and love them and make them their own. I would say I really hope that this year allows me to meet more of my fans in person. That would be a dream. I've had some people that have been following my career since like the very beginning. And to the people that have never heard of me, this might be the beginning for you. In a lot of ways it is still the beginning, but it would be just so cool to be able to play more shows and have the opportunity to meet them.
You have to. You have to.
Yes.
We need this to happen.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We really need it to happen.
Yes. But yeah, just more sharing of everything, I think is what I'm looking forward to, is like finally getting to, again, like share my harvest.
Of course. And then, as always, with every artist that I sit down with, we always do a little manifestation at the end of the interview.
Oh my God,
Something that
perfect.
yeah. I was like, okay, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I know that she's gonna like this part. But yeah, every
Yeah.
artist I sit down with, we always do a manifestation. Something that you want to see happen in your career. I want you to speak into existence right now. What is something that you would really like to see happen with your career? No time span in particular, but maybe within the next year. Let's speak it into existence.
Yeah, let's see. Okay. Can I have a couple? Jeez,
Yeah, go for it.
it's so hard. Okay. I am on New Music Friday. That's a goal of mine. I am opening for one of my favorite artists on tour.
Cool.
Ooh. Ooh, I would say, oh God, I'm gonna sound like a whack job, but that is what manifestation is. I'm opening for Harry Styles and or Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
I personally think we would vibe. I think Miley and I would be best friends. And let's see. I am in a I'm in a movie that has all of my music in it that I helped create.
Her.
So yeah, I can keep going. They're all on my mirror right now. I literally have all my manifestations.
Love that.
It's hard to limit them.
It is. It is. The sky's the limit.
Yeah,
No, it's
exactly.
not. It's not. It's not.
Well, this I'm just like I feel like my dream is just to be able to fully, support myself through my music and my art and my creativity. So yeah.
That's everything any creative could ever ask for, honestly.
Exactly.
Well, Chloe, thank you so much for everything.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. You're just like right around the corner from me. So.
Yeah, that's the funniest thing.
I know.
The funniest thing.